what I like to start with in sharing is that I like to use systems as basically a breakdown, as in you save yourself sanity, time, energy, and money systematically when you use systems. What it is that I do is I come alongside you. I light the path for you to see where you need to go, and we help implement systems along the way.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode. For the second week in a row, we're bringing an old friend on. So very excited for today's podcast. Someone we've traveled with and had some really fun times with. So we're joined by Stephen Ness from Light in the Way Leadership. Really excited to hear his story. And as always, we're joined by Jody Grundon. So welcome to the show, Jody, as well.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie.
So
Yeah,
Stephen, why
thank
don't you
you.
just tell us a little bit about your background and kind of what you're doing on the day to day?
Yeah, I call myself the chief pain in the butt officer. I like
I
to just
believe it.
cause trouble.
That
You
makes
know, the
sense.
hat itself, right? I mean,
Yep.
and so I find fellow, people that want to become unshakable in the sense of do not conform, and that's why Jody, I got the hat for Jody as well. So
Mhm.
you're up next, Jamie. You gotta
Yeah,
impress me. Show me.
I'll try.
But
Hopefully, after this
You
half
know,
hour, I'll get a hat.
that
that's
hair with the
right.
hat, I just don't know. He's got
Oh,
that
it would
wavy
look
hair.
great. It would come out. I mean, it's what's
On the
in now.
side,
It's
yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
the '80s now, right? It's all come
Dude,
back
I get so
full
many
circle.
compliments on this hat. You would not believe it. It's perfect. I wish they would sell more. Different things, shirts and
Yeah.
stuff like that to go with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do have a shirt, but yeah, it's a little bit different than the kind of this style. So it is a little bit
Mhm.
more unique. But yeah, I mean, maybe we just start our own. Let's just start our own. Let's just
That's
do that, Jody.
That's a great
new company
idea.
idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
entrepreneurship at its best, right here. We
yeah.
just come up with
Just rip
ideas on
off
the
your
fly and we
logo
go.
and
That's right.
yeah.
So, so those that are listening and not watching, both Jody and Steven have decided to dress like each other and wear a hat that says upside down, do not conform. And here I am without a hat, kind of feeling left out. So those that are listening know that like I'm the third wheel here, just so you know.
Yeah,
As
or maybe you're not conforming because we both have the hat. So
oh,
maybe now we're yeah.
oh.
I don't
Symbolism.
know. I don't know. But like I said, I'm kind of the chief pain in the butt, just in terms of, I teach and coach and guide. I also run an organization, a copy print company as well, that I'm helping an owner out with. And that's really where I've kind of cut my teeth. But I've gone everywhere from door to door sales, started out as a kid,
Mhm.
through retail, through, nonprofit, healthcare, and then, real estate, all the way up to, where I'm at now. So, I've kind of cut my teeth in a lot of different areas. I fail forward in a lot of different spots, doing things that
Mhm.
were thought were good, thought I should do it this way, I should say it this way, and then ended up, learning, hey, probably need to use a little bit more wisdom there. So, like my good friend Neil always says, I have my PhD in stupidity. I've just done a lot of stupid stuff, and I've learned the hard way. So
I would say not. I'd say not on the stupid side, but you forgot to mention you were also a soccer coach, which is pretty cool. Tell us a
yeah.
little bit about that and how that kind of relates to the business because there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it started out me growing up loving soccer, playing soccer all the time. I'm from Southern California, so that was just something that I always was always doing because it was a year-round sport there. Can't really do that up here in Minnesota
Yep. Yep.
year-round unless it's indoors.
Kind
Um, but through that time, got into high school and really wanted to play soccer from the with high school. The coach was just a complete dunce. Couldn't stand the guy at all. Didn't want to let one of my buddies play as well. So, I took the do not conform stand of like, well, if he doesn't play, I don't play. And it was pretty much of, okay, well, then I'm not playing and I'm out. And so like, I just took that. And then I've just always loved the sport. And so it left me early on because, like I would say, I was sticking to a moral that I had, this idea of integrity. And then I always said, if I was to ever coach or play again, like I'm never going to be like that guy. And so started coaching early on with my kids when they were young, and got into high school coaching because my kids started growing up. My one wanted to play American football, and I was like, that's fine. I was still coaching soccer, and then turned around and said, I want to play, and it was like Christmas for me, man. It was like so good. It's like, all right, I'm just gonna buy you all the stuff, like let's go. But then moved into getting my youngest out of high school and decided I was going to ref for, now it's time for me. I yell at refs all the time. Might as well for myself to get yelled at. And so like that was a natural, progression for me. And the first game, halfway through, I ruptured my calf. My
Oh,
big calf, the gastro something big, scientific word, just totally ruptured. And
Oh,
so I
geez.
mean, I couldn't walk. And so I missed the whole season. And it took some reflecting of like, okay, well, what do I want to do? And I met, I was at a Pinnacle Business Guide event and Michael Powers was sitting there and he's like, well, what do you want to do? And so I was just telling him like stuff that I'm passionate about. And I was like, coaching, I'd love to coach college soccer. He's like, well, then why don't you? And I'm like, well, it's a lot harder than that. It's not that easy, but found an opening at a community college that was starting the program, and and was blessed with an opportunity to start a women's soccer program. Immense amount of leadership, failing forward, all of the things, right? Like to start a program, it's like starting a business and starting a
Mhm.
brand and an identity and messaging. And, how do you actually recruit properly? And like, how do you convince girls? I have nothing to offer you from a financial standpoint except this opportunity. And so it
Mhm.
just became this grind, as any entrepreneur, new business owner knows, and is probably going through at this point. It's what I was going through as well. And so, you get through the end of it and you're just like, oh, that was a lot. That was hard. I learned a lot of things. I've never coached women before, and so that was a very unique situation
different.
for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was told that I was mean quite often. So, uh, and what I like to say is,
Fair enough.
I was lovingly telling you the truth, and so that's kind of where the hard truth of leadership comes into play. Of like, you're not doing what you're being asked to do. Why is that? Let's work on that. And you start kind of going through all those pieces that you do in leadership naturally,
Yeah.
which is right. You've got measurables, you have accountability. I call them obsessions. What are the things I need you obsessing about in that seat or that position? And so, it was so much that translated exactly like you said, Jody, that it's the same thing. It was just, it went from one thing to another. So, yeah, business and soccer or coaching is very much the same in a lot of respects. And I know why God blessed me with two boys and not girls. So
I I think our listeners can tell why we get so along so well with Stevens. He already mentioned door-to-door sales, which is obviously
Mhm.
somewhere Jody kind of cut his teeth, and then
Yep.
obviously coaching, as all of our listeners know. I'm in
hmm
the middle of high school basketball season right now, where I'm a coach there, and so yeah, I think everybody understands. And so we met through Pinnacle. So Pinnacle
yes,
is the
sir.
organization that Stephen already kind of mentioned. Do you want to talk a little bit about your journey with Pinnacle and kind of what you do through them?
Yeah, so found Pinnacle based off of Barry Gish, who was a longtime EOS implementer. I had worked with him before in the EOS world, and then self-implemented EOS for a while with different companies I was working in. Really fell in love with the idea of systems and what systems can do for you. Didn't realize that there was a way to package it and then sell it. My entrepreneurship mind wasn't there. I mean, what Gino did was brilliant: package it and sell it. Like, oh, I should
Mhm.
have done that. And and during that time period, Barry made the switch. He decided to start working with Greg at Pinnacle, and so that was when I reached out to him, based off my current CEO role at the copy print company at Liberty Business
Mhm.
Systems, and just said, we had an EOS implementer, spent some time with him, asked him to do and facilitate a mini kind of meeting with me to go over accountability chart stuff. It really fell flat on its face. Was not excited about where it went or how it worked out. And really, with guiding services or coaching services, you choose the guide or the coach. It's really what you're looking for. You're not looking so much for the system piece because you can find that anywhere. And just knew that it wasn't the right fit. And so thanked him for the time, told him I'd pay him for the rest of the year because it was already a prearranged, contractual thing that they had, and said, but, your services are no longer needed. Kind of shocked him there. But again, it's kind of my blunt style of just speaking truth. And so then decided I got to do something. And I didn't really want to do it on my own. So I reached out to Barry and he told me, I'm doing Pinnacle now. And I was like, well, what's a pinnacle? Like, I don't know, like just top of the summit. Like, okay, well, what does that mean? And so he sat through and invited us to kind of sit down and kind of go through the process of what it would look like. And there was a lot of similarities, to my past and what I've experienced. And so I was like, well, I love Barry to death. And so it was like, let's do this. And so kind of started going down that route. And then I realized I just have a passion for this. I love doing this. I was self-implementing. So then it was like, well, this kind of seems like peanut butter jelly, baby. Like it just goes together. So
Mhm.
I needed to, I wanted a piece of that. And so that's where Barry introduced me to Greg. And we met and talked and kind of went through what Pinnacle had to offer, and it really checked a lot of the boxes that I was looking for. And it was like, hey, we can make this a win-win. But like I told Greg at the time, it was like, I'm not looking to go full coaching on this. Like I was just wanting it to really be part of the business for what I was doing. But then I just fell in love with it. And it's like, okay, I'm going to take on some clients and like, let's help other people win, because I don't like doing things by myself. So let's start killing it. And that's what we've been able to do.
Yeah, can you walk through what would be a typical engagement? Like a lot of people hear about the EOS thing, maybe not know what it is, or maybe hear about business processes, but really don't know what you're talking about. Can you kind of break it down so that even I would understand?
Oh boy, that's a challenge.
Ooh, hold on. Let me stretch.
How
I
long
gotta
is
get
this
this one.
podcast?
What I like to start with in sharing is that I like to use systems as basically a breakdown, as in you save yourself sanity, time, energy, and money systematically when you use systems. And so what it is that I do is I come alongside you, I light the path for you, right, to see where you need to go, and we help implement systems along the way. So that's kind of the short, really 60-second elevator pitch I would have for you is, if you want to save yourself sanity,
Mhm.
if time saving is important to you, energy, money, if those things matter, then we should talk some more and see what that would look like in your business.
Mhm. So systems then. So it's basically creating systems. And so when you go in, you look at what? So you look at everything that's part of the business. Just yeah, is there specific parts like with the CFO? We're not looking at every part of the business, right?
Yeah.
We're focusing on the financial side and how that really kind of moves the business forward. What systems are you looking for?
Yeah. So, I mean, it does intertwine, right? 5 different components, those sorts of things. At the end, profit then, is what the end result is. I've started to flip that on top of its head, because
Hmm.
most of the people that I interact with, they don't have the profit, they don't have the money, and cash is king, baby, right? Like
Yeah.
Right, right, yeah.
that is what you need to be able to make good decisions, not out of
Mhm.
desperation. And so
Right.
that's what I started to do, is where it's like, okay, let's find ways for you not to spend additional money, but let's find money where it's hidden already. And that's in very we I've got 12 different areas that I look at very specifically right away, but it goes up to 40. So I kind of flip it on its head and look at it a little bit differently. Most of the time it's always around, you can cut costs right away. But yeah, so I think for you guys it's very much the same thing, where it's like, oh man, that sounds like that's beautiful, like I love that. But I
Mhm.
found that to be the most important thing. Like I can implement the right people in the right seats, but if you're hemorrhaging money, then what's going to happen? And the reason why I say this is because this was a situation I was in. I was hired in as essentially the
Mhm.
second in command at Liberty, and
Yep.
was told, we need to fix culture, and you need to fix and hire a sales team. So those were kind of the 2 main components to this. Cool, I could do that like all day. Like that's my bread and butter. I love that.
Mhm.
And so went in and started, making those changes, going with people, looking at purpose, right? Looking at our playbooks and those processes, those sorts of things, and then looking at performance and how those are done. That's kind of the pinnacle wheel as we go through it. And then that
Mhm.
would equal profit. Well, I started to do those things, but then I realized we were hemorrhaging money out the back end. And that was a situation with the CFO we had. And he was not giving me the right information that I needed to know what profit levels we weren't pulling. Right.
Mhm.
And so
Right, right.
when I realized that, it was like, oh crap, we got to flip this right upside its head and change, and be very focused on that first. And so I think that is a better way that I have found with clients. Now, if you have the clients that are strong financially, they've got, great gross profit, they got great net profit, and they're doing all the right things, fantastic. I'm still going to find you money, because
Mhm.
you still aren't doing all the right things.
Right.
So I would challenge you there. However, I find the majority of people that I want to work for, and work with and partner with, are ones that are struggling. I just have a heart for that. And
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
unfortunately it's cash, and I got to figure that out first. But yeah, I think ultimately from a Pinnacle perspective, it's always, you start with people, and you got to get the right people in the right seats doing the right things, period.
Mhm.
But there has to be clarity in what that looks like. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of that main first component, and then it goes into purpose, playbooks, performance, and then which equals profit. Like I said, I'm flipping it upside down on my head a little bit more, just because of my experiences with who I'm
Sure.
choosing to serve.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
So you talked.
with you. Oh, with engagements, real quick. So, like for instance, our engagements they last about 4.5, 5 years, usually with an end goal of, hey, we want to sell the company. Let's get that multiple. So let's build to that. Are your engagements very similar, where it's a long-term engagement, or is it more of a, hey, let's get in, fix things in this next 6 months, and then you're out of here?
Yeah, I mean, I've dealt with both. Generally, it's longer because it takes time to do the things you got to do. I mean, it's simple, not easy, right? Like I can tell you, hey, you're just going to get rid of this person, this person, this person. You're going to hire this person, this person, this person. You're going to look for these things, this and that. Well, okay, that's simple, but not easy, right? Like that
Mhm.
Right.
that's
Mhm.
that becomes the hard thing. When I was first hired at a job, I was handed a list of 8 people and said, "You're going to fire these people today." And that was my first day on the job. It doesn't work.
It's not fun.
I can just tell you.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
And me with my type of comeback, it was, well, do you trust me? Did you hire me because you felt like you trusted what I was going to bring? Well, yeah. Okay. Would you give me some time to go through this list and like talk to people and analyze the situation, see where we're at? Yeah, that would be fine. So that but yeah, to answer that, yeah, it's one of those things where it's just dependent.
Yeah, and ideally, it sounds like long term is the way that it benefits both of you, right? Because even when you fix that issue, it seems like, well, that's not the only issue that happens. Other issues, will pop up every once in a while, and you really need
Right.
that guy beside you to kind of
Right.
mentor and manage you through that. Just kind of be that sounding board for the most part, which owners really don't have.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was challenged with a coach that was helping, me kind of just go through systems and thinking, and because I believe everybody needs a coach and a mentor. And so it
Mhm.
was like, he said, "Well, do you want to be average?" I was like, "Of course I don't wanna be average." And so and I was like, "That's a great line." And that's a really good challenging idea because most entrepreneurs are like, "I don't wanna be average. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I didn't wanna
Right.
do that. I didn't wanna be in
Right.
that position.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna go kill it." And then it's like, "Well, do you wanna be average in killing it or do you wanna really kill it?" Well, if you wanna
Yeah.
really kill it, that's gonna take a lot of time. However, I've got the roadmap. I can light the path for you. So let's go down and do this journey together, which then in that case it does it takes years upon years.
Mhm.
I don't know anybody that has been done. I know EOS has the idea of like 2 years you can kind of become masters and master EOS,
Mhm.
but I've yet to find anybody that's mastered leadership in business, and so it's like this is just an ongoing adventure for all of us, so let's just do it together.
Well, and because it always changes, right? Like being a leader of a
Right.
$2 million company is way different than being a leader of a $10 million company. And I
Oh, for sure.
imagine that's a lot of the challenges you deal with. And that was kind of my
Yeah.
next question, talking about people and process, right? Those are the two things that you mentioned quite a bit there. But like how much of it is you're working with the leaders, how much of it is like reflective? Okay, leader, this is where you need to change, and this is how you need to change, and these are the processes you need to change versus, okay, leader, before you start on yourself, these are the people that are in the wrong places, and we need these processes to change. So how much time in that early days do you spend on the leader versus their team?
Well,
Yeah.
speaking from experience, it's never the leader's fault.
And here I was just going to go on a whole different trail. I was going to pivot.
You can still go down that path. Trust me, Jody won't be offended.
Yeah, I know that, and I'm gonna go down it anyways. Oh, it's so good. I've been leaning down a whole different trail in that line of thinking because it really does start with the individual. And if I can't get you as an individual to commit, right, and to understand your impact as a leader, this isn't going to go anywhere. I've had clients that I've had to fire because of that. He said I had one where the gentleman said I can. This was introductory. Just met this individual. He
Okay.
said, "You know what, Stephen?" I was like, "Yeah, so and so. I could fire you whenever I wanted to."
Uh,
And I leaned back and I smiled and I went, "That's really funny, so and so, because I can do the same." And I stood up and went to walk out. And he was like, "No, no, 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 wait, 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 wait." Again, and then we had a really good conversation about what does personal responsibility and accountability mean. Now, most entrepreneurs, most owners are going to tell you all the things you want to hear,
Mhm.
because in their head the idea seems really good. Like, I really want that. Like, you know what, Jody, that sounds so good. Like, I really want that.
Mhm.
I'm going to do what it's going to take. You tell me what I need, and I'm going to do it. And then the prickling starts, right, where it's like, hey, have you thought about your impact on your people when you say these sorts of things?
Mhm.
There's a little prick. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay,
Yep.
kind of brush it off. do you understand the impact that you're having? Now, what is that impact then when you take it home? Like, are you carrying weight of work at home? Oh, there's a much bigger prick, right? Like,
Right.
that one really hurts. And they may
Yeah.
even call me a prick, right? And so it's like that at that point, it's like, oh, that one really hurts. And so then they realize, oh, this is me having to clean me up first.
Hmm.
And then you got to clean up all these other leaders here too that are having the same issues because they're emulating you as the owner or the leader. And so that is where I found has to start first. Sorry, Jody, but it has to start first.
No, I
And
agree.
once you do that, then true change happens. What we find out though is that takes a long time. That takes a lot. It takes a lot of work. Unless the person is so motivated, their why is so big that it's like I will do whatever it takes. I have yet to meet that individual that has been so gung ho that it hasn't taken several hours of actual good intensive work with just me and them to get it figured out.
It's not a pain point. It's not like, hey, we're running out of cash. I'm desperate. I got to do something. What's your pain point? What do you find is the most common way to get that owner to basically self-reflect?
Yeah, generally it's desperation, right? I mean, that's why they found us or myself, and that's why they're looking for what they're looking for.
Hmm.
But the other is time. I just want time. I want the ability to be with my family. Like I did this so I didn't have to work for the man, right? The man.
Hmm.
I didn't want
Right.
to be there to do that. And so I thought I was going to have all this freedom, not realizing that, all you've done is actually compounded all of the world, all of your community, your family, your employees' families, all on top of your shoulders. And you wear that and have to deal with that every day. I mean, you talk about having to wear a pack to work out, right? And walk and
Yeah.
that type of weight, what it does to you. I mean, imagine all the weight of all of that on top of that. It's just, it compounds and it's just miserable. And so that's been the biggest one is how do we find more time for you and to give you the structure needed?
My question on the time is how much of it is how does the time feel? Because this is something that we work through a lot
Mhm.
in both our organization and other organizations
Yeah.
is like, are you, is the 40-hour week you're working miserable because it's an area you don't want to work in? And I think the path that I've been talking about a lot with CEOs and obviously in a lot of speaking I've been doing is
Yeah.
just because you're an owner doesn't necessarily mean you're a leader. And just because you're an owner or a leader doesn't necessarily mean you're a CEO. And so like, I think how many often do you have that conversation of is like, okay, owner, you started this company. What's a perfect 40-hour week for you? And then let's talk about that because sometimes I'm willing to work like a 60, 70-hour week if I'm working in the right area, if I'm doing stuff I love versus a 40-hour week and stuff that I hate doing all the time. Is how often do you have that conversation about time?
Um, I do have it. I think one of the other areas that I seem to be running into a lot more is the fact that you've got this owner that is doing almost everything, that has a
Hmm.
few employees, and then they're like, "Well, now I want this freedom. Now I want all my time." Well,
Right.
or I want to sell, right? Like now I'm ready to sell. Well, what are you selling? Like you're going to have to then work for somebody
Yeah.
because you're the one that's generated all this revenue and
Right.
income, right? And this profit. So what is that person going to buy? So that when you have that sort of conversation with them, that's what kind of opens the eyes to, oh crap, I need to remove myself. But
Mhm.
most of them, it's their baby. Like I said, who
Hmm.
I work with, it's usually
Yeah.
smaller businesses. So it's like, this is my baby and only I can do it this well. And you got to convince them and break them of that of like, no, what you did to get to this point. Yes, totally get it. And in order to kind of break that ceiling, get to the next level, we've got to do things differently. You can't keep doing what you're doing. That's insanity. Let's not keep doing that because you're
Yeah.
expecting different results doing the same thing. So
It's kind of funny you mention that because that really goes with any pillar of the organization, right? And so when we started out, we're huge in process. I was giving you a hard time
yeah,
about it at the beginning, but that's really what we founded apart. We were a big E-myth, building this process so
yep,
it's repeatable. And so from the
yep,
very beginning, everything we did, we had to do it where it wasn't snowflakey. How do we
right,
how do we create a process around this so that once I got it mastered, Adam can pop right in and he can do the exact same thing, give the same delivery, and
yep,
so forth and so on. So and really, what I always tell people is that you're the most valuable when you're the least valuable. And what I mean by
right,
that is the least valuable you can have to your organization, where you could step aside for 2 months and nothing really happens. That's when you're most valuable, and
yep,
that's what it's really hard because you're right. It's that feeling that hey, if I don't meet with that client will leave us, or
Right.
and that's not
Yep.
true. I mean, that client trusts you. That they
Right.
trust the process. So you bring, but if you didn't have the processes in place, yeah, they probably would leave. You just bring
Right.
somebody in, and that person's telling completely something different. Yeah, that's probably not going to work. So the most valuable, but I say that with really every part of the organization itself. For an
Yeah.
organization to grow, you've got to figure out how to quit hoarding your stuff and protecting it, and you've got
Yep.
to teach everybody and kind of build yourself up to where you become not valuable anymore. You
Right.
become the most valuable, and that even
Yep.
goes with our CFOs. Our CFOs, if they were doing everything themselves, from the accounting side to creating the forecasting to doing everything to meeting
Yep.
with the clients, they would be that would be a horrible experience, because
Right.
they would be trapped. They'd be doing
Right.
everything nuts and bolts. Whereas the only way that we can grow is if our CFOs are delegating and not abdicating, but really kind of working with,
Right.
making sure that they're managing things really well. And then that way they can do more and more and more and become more valuable to the company and more valuable to themselves. I mean,
Right.
am I right on this? Am I wrong on this? Don't tell me I'm wrong, please, 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 please.
You can't handle
You're
that.
not wrong. When you yeah, I don't want to hurt that ego
Thank
of
you.
his.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
No, you're absolutely right, and you look good in that hat, by the way.
Thank you.
It's because for individuals generally, with the CFO type seat, or any seat where that person is thriving, that's their superpower, right? It's that piece of it. That's why I talked about obsessions earlier, of like, what are those key things that person needs to be obsessing on? Everything else, let's figure out how to get it out of their way. That way they can just thrive. And guess what? You're going to get more out of them than you would get by having them tack on 500 more things. Just like in the job description, where at the very bottom you've got and all other duties as assigned. It's like how can we make people more miserable? Hey, and then whatever else I ask of you, you're gonna do because you signed this job description. How about imagine a world, guys, where we actually created a job description that just had what our purpose was, like what's the North Star look like, what are the convictions, that's what I use for core values, and then it just lists, hey, this is the seat, and it's got some cool name, not like some stupid name like sales manager, right? And then so sorry, you're getting me going now I'm gonna get on this. And then and then it had just 3 things that it's like, I just want you to just go passionately after those things. Do those things resonate with you?
Love
Oh,
it.
absolutely. Like, those are my superpowers. Perfect. That's all I want you to do. Well, what about A, B, and C? No, those aren't on there. I don't see those on there anywhere. So go ahead and, forget that. We'll find somebody for that. Man, I tell you, you look like a different organization in 30 days, period. Hands down.
No, I agree 1,000%, and I think that's obviously what we've tried to do too. And we work with our companies. It's like, okay, where are you the most valuable? Where are you the most happy? Where are you the most passionate? And I think a lot of it ties back, especially as an owner. Like, there's a little bit of ego in it. Like, I'm thinking back to I was at a party a couple weeks ago, and like there was it was like for my kids, it was some 4-H event. And there was like 8 or 9 dads there, and it was like on a Friday afternoon. The number of dads like in the living room taking a phone call, looking all stressed, walking around like I didn't take my phone out once, because like I don't. It's like not my identity is not the business owner that's super stressed out all the time. My identity is like, I do my job, I love my job, and then when it's done, I walk away from it. So I think there's a lot of that goes into it too. Is like, this
Like,
is who I am. This
excuse
is
me,
my
Jamie.
identity. Yeah,
Excuse me. I'm closing a large deal right now. You know what I mean?
exactly.
It's just
Yeah,
like, come on.
come on,
Yeah.
dude.
Give me a
But
break. Yeah.
be present. Be with your kids. And we're here at a 4-H event. Like, enjoy that instead of like being on sales calls on the side. Like, it's just
Right.
so much
Yeah.
of their
And if you
identity.
don't, and if you're not the owner, and you're just somebody that's hired, that's working for somebody, and they may be great. I mean, don't give all those extra hours. I'm sorry, like, don't do that to somebody. And because guess what? Loyalty, as we've seen in the workplace, how many people have been laid off right before Christmas? I mean, Verizon just did this massive layoff as well. And it's like, these are people that have worked 20, 30 years for that organization. I mean, they built it from like when it was like nothing. And it's like, oh, what does that mean? So now you think about all of those nights that you took calls later on, or that you stayed late and did the extra thing because it's company first.
Yep.
It's like, no, that's why my whole philosophy on business is very much what you just said, Jimmy, which is, hey, we've introduced unlimited PTO where we work. Like, I want you to take time off. I want you to do the things. If you're not taking enough time off, guess what we do? We tell you to take more time off. Well, that's totally counter to what the world says. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Because I believe that the way business has been done is wrong. Like, there's a lot of right
Yeah.
things. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not broad brushing it. And they're just like, oh, you just said everything's wrong. Well, no.
Right.
However, the majority of it's wrong. Like, people first, really, it has to be the focus. And that's
Yep.
really, it's a shame when people are stressed out and doing those things, but you got to give them the right structure. You got to have the right leadership in place, and you got to get the right systems.
Right.
Yeah,
It doesn't mean
I,
I
I,
made
would,
those.
I would agree and disagree with that. I would say people first, but I also say clients are right there with them because clients are what actually pays the bills. But what I would say is that in order to have your people first, you have to have the processes in place. If you have the
Yeah.
process in place, your people are super happy, and your clients are then happy because your people are happy. And so it's kind of a combination there. It can't be that, hey, the client's out there, sinking in the ship, and you're like, oh, I have 5 o'clock's over, time out. I can't deal with you. Sorry. But you don't want that type of, you don't want that
Right.
type of company. I don't. I want a company that's set up where, hey, the processes are in place so that you don't get that 8 o'clock
Yeah.
at night call or have to work 8 o'clock to get your proposal done because that's what's expected of
Right.
you. There should be
Yep.
the expectation should be, in favor of both. So it's a win for the client. It's also a win for the employee.
Yeah. Yeah. We ended up having all of our team members at Liberty do basically their own job descriptions in the sense of process, right? Or Pinnacle calls them playbooks, right? From the
Mhm.
playbook perspective of what does your job entail? And like, you build it out, you teach it to us, you show us what it looks like. That way, one is I'm learning from the expert because they're the
Yep.
ones doing it day in and day out. And,
Mhm.
they actually had a say in how it was developed and how it worked. Man, it worked wonders. It definitely
What does
helped.
that look like? What does that look like? Is it a big, huge Word document? Is it like a video thing? Is it just something really quick? What would one of those examples look like?
Yeah, so
Because
they started out, I liked it summarized, obviously, because for me, I don't want to read a bunch of stuff.
yeah,
However, what we realized is when we took that summarization and then I sat down and tried to do it, yeah, it's not, it's the whole thing. Like, how do you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Well, most people just assume you have the bread, right? They don't bring up the
yeah,
bread. Well, you got to have the bread first. So what did that look like? Well, we failed forward on that big time, and we found out the
yeah.
areas. And so then it was like, okay, we got to be more detailed. So then we went through, screenshotted it, added it to a document, and then had, each seat kind of have their own thing. So there was arrows, screenshots of the things that
Mhm.
you needed to do in terms of how to actually order something, that sort of thing. So then we went back and then replicated that. Okay, now let's go back in there. Can I actually do this? Yes, I can. Great. Awesome. Now we put it in our playbook and now we've got it. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we had to learn. We learned by doing
Yeah,
and putting
yeah,
it all through.
yeah, Stephen. I mean, that's I didn't know if you knew, but Jamie is our process person. So he's the one that does exactly what you're talking about. I would love to hear compare and contrast what you've done, Jamie, compared to what Stephen's just mentioned there.
No, I think it's similar in a lot of ways, but I think one of the things that as I evolve, one of the things that I keep thinking about is there's just everybody has a different learning style and everybody has a different
Yeah.
processing style. So like as I move into this next year, one of the things I'm thinking is can I provide things in ways that it's going to make sense for everybody, right? So, like for me, it might make sense to be having a video in the background while I work on stuff. That's how I'm going to learn something. For someone else, they just want to have a one quick snapshot paragraph that they read that makes sense to them. And then another person might
Yeah.
want to see a flow chart, right? So I think that that's kind of the nice thing about AI is it's going to allow me to do all those things at once, right? If I just record that original video and I talk through, okay, here's what my job description is, and I record a video of it, that's going to work for someone to listen to that job description. But I can also take that, throw that transcript into AI and say, okay, now can you write me this job description for
Yep.
someone to read? And then also, can you create a graphic for it that describes that in a symbolism way? And so that's one of the things that I'm really kind of starting to lean into when it comes to process is that my main goal with process is that everyone understands it. And if I'm trying
Yeah.
to make everyone understand it in one way, that's never going to happen. And so that's kind of
Yeah.
the biggest change that I think I'm moving into in this new year is like working through multiple ways to teach things and make sure that everybody understands it because kind of back to your earlier point about people first, and I definitely agree with Jody. It's hard to be people first without process in place, but I also think it's hard to be people first without culture in place. I think if those three things are in place, like you're going to have a really good organization where your clients are going to be naturally taken care of because I care so much about what I do. I'm not just going to let a client drop. And if I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks, there's processes I can take where that client's not going to
Yeah.
get dropped. So I can be like, okay, I'm out for 2 weeks. Hey, Jody, do you mind taking these sales calls for me? Let's put them on your schedule because that's the process I always fall into. So I think that's
Yep.
kind of how I've looked at it recently. And again, of course, my opinions have always changed over time, but that's really where I'm leaning right now.
Yeah. And I think that there has to be that one person that carries the rallying cry, the banner of culture.
Yeah,
A lot of times, though, we don't have that person doing that because they're not consistent. And so
yeah,
that's where it comes back to them having to self reflect and understand they are that person. So, how do you
right.
carry that flag? What does it look like? How do you show up day in and day out? Like I always say, the audio has to match the video. And unfortunately, most of the time it doesn't. And it
Yeah,
Hmm.
sucks. Okay, let's
right.
fix that. Let's fix the suck out of that.
And you can tell when it doesn't, right? Like if the ball is dropping, oftentimes I think it's one of those two things. It's either your culture is dropping or your processes are dropping. It's either someone wants to do good, they just don't know how to do good, or they just don't want to do good because they're not passionate about what we're doing. Like it's one of those two things that's usually dropping, and so it's our job to make sure that those are there for them.
Yeah, great point. It's usually leaders that are not driving the engagement with their people. That's why it
Right.
drops.
Yep, for sure. Cool. So we are a little bit over time, which is awesome. I knew we'd talk for a long time here because
Mhm.
we have a good relationship here and lots to talk about. But I do want to still have time for our fun question. And so, as all of us, oh wait, two of
Mhm.
us are wearing our hats that say "Do not conform."
Mhm.
That's the kind of the
Let's
question I
go.
want to I want to go down here. So, what is something that everybody or the majority of people genuinely like or is well regarded that you kind of don't like, and you might be afraid to admit it, but what's something that everybody always talks about? Is this something that's great that you're not a fan of? It can be a movie, it can be a book, it can be a current tradition. What is something that most people love that you kind of conform against? And I'm going to start with Steven on this one.
Oh,
Ooh.
oh, oh, that's a good question,
Since
man.
you made the hat, I'm going to let you start.
Um, I mean, for me, one thing that drives me nuts is most music. Just almost in general, like I like how you laugh. I'm a huge hardcore fan, so I love yelling, screaming, loud, aggressive music that actually means something, has a message, it's tied to something. Very much the same as who I am as an
Mhm.
individual. That punk rock kind of
Mhm.
anti-establishment piece, I love that style. So most everything else, I just think is hideous. I can't stand rap. Country music, my wife it's helped grow on me, but still not anything near my bread and butter. So yeah, I would say almost all music sucks except those two.
That's definitely pretty
Wow.
non-conforming, and probably could start a lot of good conversations at the bar.
Yeah. You know, I've been thinking about this really long and hard, and mine is that I love all kinds of music except for that hard rock shit that he's talking about. That
Oh
just
boy,
really doesn't.
here we go.
Have I played any of it for you? I think
No,
I have, haven't I?
no, I'm just joking. I love all
You're
kinds of
missing
music
out.
actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
Tony
that
loves all music.
wouldn't be what I'm talking about. I guess my biggest thing, and I'm tired of hearing about it, is how great The Office is. Just hate it. It's like that is the worst movie or show I've ever seen.
TV show, okay.
And everybody's like, "Oh, you got to see The Office. Oh, it's so great. Oh, this is the best ever." And then they quote different things from it. It's like, "Oh, come on now, guys. This is like brutally
Well,
bad."
it's so you just don't enjoy humor. That's what I'm hearing.
Kind of like music.
Yeah.
Did you see the look on my face drop when he said that? Because we just had a whole retreat where we did
I know. It
an
was
office theme
brutal.
retreat, and Jody did not tell me like until now that he hated it. So
Oh,
I guess I just did a bad job my last
oh.
retreat I ran.
Well, I even had the wrong people's names on the screen because I had never seen it before. The whole thing through.
I don't even know if it's still available because I think they took it down. But episode two, is season one is by far one of the best pieces of cinema ever, hands down. It's diversity. It's diversity
Oh,
day,
the
and you could
diversity
just
training.
imagine.
Oh yeah,
Oh dude, I
yeah.
can't even tell you. Like you just watch it and you're like, okay, that's just brilliant. That is so good. So
I was gonna choose a TV show too, so I'll go two here, so we're not overlapping. But I hate Breaking Bad. Like I think I tried to
No,
watch it, and I cannot
no,
do
I
it.
like Breaking
It's
Bad.
too stressful to me. Like I just do not like. I've tried to. I watched the whole first season, and I'm like, I'm not watching that again. But I will choose a movie instead, which is, and as a kid, I told everybody I loved this movie because I was Italian, and everybody loves this movie. It's Godfather. Like I think The Godfather is slow. It is hard to watch, and it is not a very good movie. And so that's my
I'm with you on that
non-conforming
one.
path
Yeah, I
is
think I
I'm with
agree
you on
Godfather.
that one.
on
So,
I do have to say that Tombstone is one of
oh,
the
Oh,
greatest movies
I
oh
besides
will.
yeah.
Gladiator.
Tombstone's
Really
the
good.
movie I've
So
seen most of my
Gladiator's
life, so
awesome.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, we'll agree on that. Let's
We'll
agree
agree
on
on that.
something to end it,
We'll
Yeah,
right?
agree on.
exactly. I think
We'll
we all
stop the
agree on
non-conforming stuff there. So.
that.
Awesome. Well, this was a lot of fun, and Stephen, I know we say this to all our guests, but this is definitely to me. This is what I want our podcast to be: is to have people like you on here that we can just have fun conversations with that fly by. So
Yeah.
we had a great time talking with you and a lot of good information. It's kind of fun. I think most times you and I have talked, it's been more social. I haven't heard a ton of what you
Yeah.
do from a work standpoint, so it's kind of fun to hear your philosophies. So that was pretty cool to hear you talk about a
Yeah.
lot of this stuff.
It's
But
hard to talk when you're over live music going on, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
Music apparently you don't like.
yeah, especially music that I can't
Bars you don't
stand.
like in Nashville.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right.
Hey, Stephen, how do I
Uh,
get a hold of you? So somebody wants to reach out, get a hold of you, heard you, really likes what you have to say, your message. What's
yeah.
the
Yeah, no, I
what's
appreciate that.
Mhm.
My website is lightingthewayleadership.com. You can also reach me at Steven@lightingthewayleadership.com.
Okay,
Sounds great.
perfect. We'll make that sure that's in the show notes so everybody can find you, and
Awesome.
hopefully
Appreciate it.
people reach out to you after this conversation. So thanks for
Yeah,
coming
thanks
on.
for the time. It was an honor. I love you
Yeah,
guys.
thank you.